In this video, I will be reviewing some of the favorite hands I played during the mid-stakes version of the Cash Game World Championship, where I finished 11th after playing 50k hands with a win rate of 10 BB 100. And to celebrate and thank you guys for helping us reach 20k subs on the channel, I've invited the GOAT of poker coaching, Uri Peleg, to give his perspective on the hands that I've played. And next to Yuri's evaluation, I'm also curious what you guys think. So leave a comment down below, rate my hands 1 to 10. And remember, if you like the plays, like this video. Let's go. All right, Uri, thank you for coming on. I'm curious, what have you been up to lately?
Been working on a bunch of projects, but mostly it's just been summer holidays with kids. So messy times.
It's a project as well.
Yeah. We've just been traveling the country a lot. And I've been doing the Lab 2.0 project, which is like a training site on Upswing. There's a collaboration with Owen. I think you said he mentioned that on your stream earlier. We're doing like a half CFP, half pre-CFP course where people can sign up for something short-term for money rather than profit share. And it's a bit more open than the CFP due to that. So those are the two poker projects I've been...
Yeah, I know you reject a lot of people, right? So you kind of now created something to stop rejecting people, basically. So everyone can work with you.
Yeah. Well, that was the idea, that there were so many people who want to work with us, but the CFP model doesn't work for most people for various reasons, whether the stakes, the bankroll, the time commitment.
So Uri, you're gonna review some of my hands that I played during the Cash Game World Championship. Here's the idea. I'll replay the hands. You give your thoughts as we go, and then I'll clarify my thought process wherever you need me. And at the end, I want your honest verdict, 1 to 10. Sounds good?
Okay.
Baba S opens from the cutoff. We 3-bet King Jack of Spades from the small blind. So far, I think so fine. So standard, he calls. Maybe a little extra information on this guy. Very loose, kind of splashy. And also we're playing ante. I played the spot a bit more like it's small blind button, because he was just very loose. So that's kind of how I played out the hand in my head. Basically, we're small blind button, even though it's small blind cutoff. But I think the ranges are more like small blind button. All right.
So is he loose because he's a bit of a recreational, or is he kind of playing well but pushes the ranges a bit?
So actually, apparently he used to be a high stakes poker player, but then he kind of stopped. So he kind of knew what he was doing. Not a recreational, but he was playing this recreationally, but he used to be a professional. So like
perfect,
loose,
okay.
Especially not the strongest theory, fundamentals, just often just winging it.
Yeah, so when you get this board, I always divide boards into a few different types for what I want to do, and this feels like one where you can't bet everything, right? It kind of hits your opponent a bit too hard. Were you playing small blind flats or not really?
Yes, because it was ante, right? So there was preflop doors $4 in the middle. So yeah, I would definitely play a good amount of flats here.
So I assume you don't pure 3-bet 8s and 9s, for example, right? Those are doing a decent bit of flatting.
Yeah, like 6s, 7s, things like 8-7 suited, 7-6 suited would also be in my flatting range. And then 6s would probably mainly be my flatting range. 9s I could sometimes 3-bet, especially versus him.
Yeah, so in terms of the, I always like to think of range asymmetries. So his range has a portion that hits this board that your range probably doesn't. You have aces, kings, queens. He has like 9s, 8s, 6s. And then, yeah, we probably are supposed to do something between checking all the time and checking half the time. I'm not sure where exactly you'd land. And then King Jack of Spades. On the one hand, it could go either way, but it feels like a hand with a strong betting preference. I think these hands that have really nice backdoors, but they're not good enough to check all a bet, are one of the first hands to make it into a betting range. So if you have King 10 of Spades, you can check call. If you have Ace King of Spades, maybe you can check call. But when you have King Jack of Spades, it's like backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, 2 overcards, you have to check fold. So I think you just bet your hand.
All right. Actually, I actually like when you were talking, I was also thinking the king 10. That's sort of a better hand. I would actually prefer checking king 10 because I don't really want to bet and get raised. Feels kind of stupid, right? So with this hand,
Exactly.
it's like you bet and he raises, you fold. I actually went for the check. Actually, I thought he was gonna stab 1/3 quite often. I was actually not planning on folding. 2 overs, back to straight draw, back to flush draw. So maybe there
Yeah,
in terms of our pop off, I
if
was
you
like,
know
all
it's
right.
1/3. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be most common. Let me see. I checked. Yeah, he indeed bet at 1/3. I kind of agree with you. I kind of felt like this hand could bet, could check call, could check raise, could do basically anything. I kind of thought in game, but I definitely think that king 10 betting, yeah, is not a great idea.
Yeah. So you check call.
I actually went for the check raise.
Oh, nice. I like it. Okay.
Okay. So far we're on board. I like it. I'd also like a bet. I think both options are fine. Filling calls. Turn is d8.
So full rainbow 8. So all your backdoor flush draws missed. Gonna be a bit, right? You need to be very board aware to find the bluffs on the turn. I think this is one where, as I assume, like you're banking on turning some equity when you check raise bluff, and this is having it be both an 8 and a diamond is like the least amount of equity you can turn with air. So I think your hand probably gets to bluff some of the time if you want to. What do you think?
I think, I don't know. It's a bit like you block some of the jack queen that you probably want them to fold. You do also block jacks. King 7. I in game kind of saw this 8 turn and I kind of was like, okay, like basically like you said, none of my bluffs really improved. I feel like also if I check, he's gonna reopen the action quite often, right? Because he benefits a lot from protection from like 2 overs that I check raised. So in game, I thought this was just mainly gonna be a check for me. Did not really consider betting. I guess if I bet, like I could have also check raised maybe like a7 or at least something with equity. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Betting this hand didn't really go through my mind. Let's say maybe I had like ace-5 or something. I might like betting because then at least I sometimes also get called by jack 10, for example, or jack queen.
Yeah, so I haven't researched it, right? These aren't lines I'm familiar with, but I think it probably makes some low frequency bet when it's the full rainbow turn. But yeah, that not too important.
You would prefer betting this. So let's say we did go for the check raise with king 10. You prefer checking now king 10 for the same reason. Basically, he's usually gonna black bet small again, I would say. Then we can check call, but king jack can't. And also if we bet any jams, we can just bet fold king jack. So you prefer to construct your betting range around your strong value and like nothing instead of betting equity with this low SPR?
Well, against a lot of guys, yeah. The second that he's stabbing small, then yeah, you just take jack 10, check call, a7, check call, get to the river, and just bluff your king, queen, king, jack.
Yeah, so I kind of saw this turn, was like, okay, he improves, we didn't. I just start from check and go from there. So
Okay. Yeah,
with basically
can't be wrong.
most of my range, like also the 8's very favorable for him. Like queen 8 suited, king 8 suited, 8-7 suited. He already had the sets that we talked about. And like I said, I think he's just going to reopen the action quite often, right? If you have 9-10 here or pocket 7s, it feels quite tempting to just, especially for how most humans would play. I would say the betting range, the checking range is going to be a little bit unprotected usually, incentivizing you to do more blocking.
Okay.
So he goes indeed for the block.
And you fold.
If I folded, this hand would not be in here.
No, you have to fold. Come on.
You think I have to fold? Like, to go back to my initial read, guy, quite loose, spazzy. So, for example, I gave him jack 10 offsuit here, or jack queen offsuit, queen 10 offsuit. There's the king 7 suited, the a7 suited, the ace 5 suited. Oh wait, actually I don't beat that. Let me, maybe important to clarify. But I was mainly fixating on like, okay, sets. I mean, what are sets? 6 combos or something, a bit more. 8-7, like this, it's always suited. So when the offsuit hands miss, I'm like, I still beat all the offsuit hands. Like jack queen off alone That's already, what, 12 combos, right? Or Jack Queen in general.
He's that loose that he would call the 3-bet with Jack 10 off Queen Jack call.
Yes. Especially also with ante. Like I said, I'm playing this button small blind, basically. You can still have King 10.
Wait, are you check raising or check calling?
No, I decided to check call and kind of see what develops. I figured, for this price, 15%, wide range. Like I said, the value is usually suited hands and the bluffs are offsuit hands. So yeah, combinatorically speaking, it's very easy to overbluff, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, I figured I'd call and kind of reevaluate the situation. River Ace.
It's a great card for you.
Yeah, sort of.
No, I mean, it's a great card for your plan because he's not going to hit it and he's not going to value bet then. So say he had jacks, he probably checks back, 10s checks back, 10-9 checks back. So now he becomes very, very polar on the ace. Are you going to check all for stacks? Would you ever consider leading
or you just check?
I'm torn between how do we even have King Jack here on the one hand. So I'm torn between the theory and the practice of the spot. I would say in practice, if you got here with King Jack, I'd just check.
Okay, we agree on that.
In theory, you probably can lead the ace in theory, but yeah, I wouldn't go for that here. So are you forced to now call? Are you able to count the combos in game and be like, Jack 10, Queen, Jack, Queen 10, okay, that's infinite combos. I don't even need to count, easy call. Is that like how you approach this?
That was basically how I approach this spot. And I think you mentioned something very important in his hand earlier. I love the ace because it slows him down with 10s and jacks or Queen 9, King 9, stuff like that. Actually, it was funny because he sort of saw this hand and he was like, what the fuck is this spew? And then actually later on stream, I kind of explained it to him. I asked him, are you value betting Queen 9? He said, no, of course not. Like, oh, okay, well, if you basically have 6s, 9s, and 8, which is only suited, and now also reduced, right, with the ace. And if basically the thinnest value bet you have is ace 7, and you have just a sprinkle of Queen Jack offsuit, yeah, I mean, 24% needed. A pretty easy call. That's how I saw it.
I'm really happy I don't see results. So if I were to grade this hand, I want to grade it before seeing the result. I would say 10 out of 10 creativity. I think 10 out of 10 flexibility. Kind of what this shows about you as a poker player is very, very strong. I think most people are not this much outside the box and into the weeds of the hand, where they check call king high on the turn in a 3-bet pot. So in terms of practically speaking, I think the turn call is pushing it a bit much. I would have wanted to see you fold there. I think if you kind of equilab his full range on the turn, including the fact that maybe this guy stabs 4s, maybe he stabs ace 10, maybe he stabs ace jack, maybe floated king queen with a backdoor, like there's stuff in there. I think I would have still liked to see you fold turn, but I love the hand. I really love the hand, and I could be wrong about turn. Like I'm not confident about it.
Yeah, I'm also not 100% sure, but this was kind of how I saw the spot in game. So your final verdict, you started. I heard you started very nicely. 10 out of 10 this, 10 out of 10 this. I was like, oh, here it comes, a 5 out of 10 in the end. So the final verdict?
No, I'd say 8 out of 10.
All right, 8 out of 10. Did make the call. He showed up with Jack 8, which is, it confirms my pretty loose pre-flop read, which I think kind of reinforced the hand. And as long as he doesn't show up with jacks or 10s, I think my hand is well played. And like I said, I asked him afterwards, would you jam Queen 9? He said, no, of course not. So, okay, well then I'm happy.
Do you think he would jam Queen Jack on the river?
Yes.
Or would he ever give up?
No, yes, I don't. I don't think he's the type. He's not the type to give up. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think the read on villain in this hand is also pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. Nice hand. I like it.
Next hand. So under the gun opens, min raise, full slots in a big blind, jack 10 of hearts. I would sometimes 3-bet this, but versus a min raise, I'm fine calling as well.
Mm-hmm.
Check. Villain bets half pot. I guess first decision point.
Okay, call.
Call.
I think
Yeah,
this
I
hand
like it.
calls. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I would check raise like 10-9 of hearts, for example. I usually use like the 10-9 and the
Exactly.
ace-10. That's kind of my would be roughly my heuristic.
Perfect.
And everything in the
Perfect.
middle, I skip.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Turn 4. You know, I always look for leads. Do you think we have some leads here?
I didn't know you always look for leads. Yeah, I think 4 is it's a good card for you. If you want to lead it, you could. I wouldn't look to lead specifically your hand though.
We agree 100%. Check. Villain checks behind. River's a deuce.
Now your hand, right? You need to put it into one of the slots. Do you check call, or do you bet, and then which size? I have a feeling this is worth about 1.5x pot, but it's close. Maybe it's a bit like B75. It's probably somewhere in between. It does make sense to check some 10s, but to stop him from freely betting 6s through 9s. But that's more if he goes 1/3 on the flop, right? When he goes more half pot, there's less 6s through 9s in his range, and then you just bet out yourself. So yeah, I guess B75.
Yeah, I like that. I think on the turn, I think overbet's definitely pushing it first under the gun. I think like the fact that we considered some leads on the turn with some hands kind of says that we improved, right? So I think if he has hands like Queen 10, King 10, he's probably supposed to slow down on the turn. So I think if we bet overbet, I think it's going to be too much. Checking juicing, I would like. Let's say we have a hand like 10-6, for example, 10-6 suited. Maybe checking, I think that hand would be nicer. Specifically like 10-6 of spades or something, you know, blocking like some 5-6 that he could call, but now checks back. Same with 6s. And like unblocking more of the Jack Queen off, for example, that he could start bluffing now, or Jack King Jack off, stuff like that. So I think checking 10-6 or something makes sense. I think I blocked, which I agree with you is not necessarily the hand strength or the sizing that this hand wants to bet. I think like half pot, 3/4, that's kind of where I estimated it in game. First button, I would always bet bigger.
Yeah.
I guess I was maybe a bit too, gave him a bit more strong checkbacks, but even then, look at this now, I think half pot would have probably been better.
Yeah, I think this is a bit too small.
He raises.
Okay, that's surprising.
Is it though? I mean, like I said, I think on the 4, he should definitely slow down with some King 10s, Queen 10s, maybe even pocket kings some of the time, or pocket queens. Probably not full bets on this turn.
Yeah, I always try to think, would the player find bluffs as well? Are there any hands that scream out at you, bluff with me, that are in his range? I'm not sure this board has a lot of those.
So you're meaning blockers? Basically hands that naturally like, oh, I block this, so therefore I raise.
Yeah, like when there's a flush on the board, you have a bunch of hands with a flush blocker that are tempting to raise. When it's a full rainbow board and a pair on the river and the entire board is low, I guess if he has something like a king queen, maybe thinks, oh, king 10, queen 10, let's raise this as a bluff. And then yeah, your hand, I mean, since you went 1/3 and you do have a 10, and his value range, like you said, has a 10 sometimes as well, it feels like kind of a theory call, right? Like if you have 8s, maybe mix. If you have Jack 10, call. But if you're posting this hand, I imagine you're going all in. Is that correct?
Strong read.
Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling if it's just bet and face a raise, and then we wouldn't be talking about it. So here, I'm kind of walking through it. You could have pocket 4s, ace 3 suited, ace 2 suited, maybe ace 3 off, ace 2 off, given he min raised and it's no rake, right? So fairly wide value range. And when you do this, he's going to have to mix in calls with hands like king 10, ace 10. So I'd imagine if you have a clean image, there's a decent chance. And I had a conversation about this today with someone, how you can think of poker players. Some poker players are not sitting down at the table intending to put in their entire stack with a bluff catcher. That's not why they came to play. Some players, it's the exact opposite, right? That is exactly why they came to play. They're looking forwards to it. And I think in the Coin Poker Challenge, you get more of the second type. Would you agree?
Yes, I would
Given
say.
it's like, it's a challenge, it's a competition.
Actually, you're mentioning something very important. Like, I see improving as poker as you have various elements, right, that you should improve in. One of the most important things I always tell people is whatever pool you play, you have to make that read. Exactly the read that you said. Is this a guy who came to play poker to fold, or is it a guy who came to play poker to call? Because I had a friend of mine who always said, listen, poker's quite simple. People, they wake up, they go out of bed. If he's a station, today he's going to station. And if he's a folder, he's going to fold. And you just need to know who is who and then exploit correctly. That's literally what he said. He says, and it's not like a guy who's a huge station one day is just going to wake up and be like, today I'm not going to station. That's just not how it works. Harry Poker, not a station.
Not as really. So I would have thought everyone here is a station. It's the championship, right? You don't beat the...
So this is, I agree with you as a general pool tendency. As a general pool tendency, that was definitely true. But like I said, I'm saying to other students that this is very important. So I kind of did the same. I tried to identify very quickly, okay, who seems to be on the nittier side. This guy definitely seemed to be, or at least not, I didn't have him tagged as like a station.
So I guess either he's folding or he calls you and shows pocket aces.
I think pocket aces would naturally barrel the turn because it just picks up more equity, right, with the 3. I just think also in these type of spots, usually when you block 3-bet, you kind of grab your strongest hand. I think the strongest hand that he could have here is 10s, right? I think that's kind of a primary check turn because kind of you block all the hands to get calls from.
Nothing.
Like you said in the river, I think we can have ace-3 off, 3-6 off. Like we carry a lot of value, which makes a lot of sense as well in this line. And yeah, I just don't see him calling sometimes with king 10 or queen 10, and he's super capped. I block the strongest hands that he can have. I don't block any of the kings or stuff because I think jacks is like your primary barrel. If you're gonna check overpairs, it's probably kings, not jacks. So I thought, okay, I block the nuts that he can have. Don't block any of the bet folds. I wrap a very credible story. I have a lot of value. In order for him to make this bluff not profitable, he has to probably call, like you said, quite some king 10, queen 10. Don't see it happening.
Okay. So I would say 9 out of 10. You lose 1 point for betting 1/3 on the river with your hand.
Fair point. To be fair, else this hand couldn't have happened. But I agree with you. Overbet would have definitely pushed first under the gun.
Yeah,
Any
agreed.
folds? Does that add any points?
9.5 out of 10, yeah.
Nice.
Are you grinding hard, studying solvers, reviewing hands, but still not getting those results that you know you're capable of? You're putting in the time and effort, but without clear direction, that effort does not pay off. That is why I created the Mechanics Leak Buster program, which is the exact system I use to make over 7 figures playing online poker and have since taught to hundreds of students so they could do the same. Through our Leak Finder stats and pop-ups, you will gain clarity on your biggest leaks and tendencies, insights on how your strategies have been performing in-game, and the impact variance has had on your results. But knowing your stats is only the beginning. In the program, we dig deep into the root causes behind your leaks and tendencies and use a proven 7-step system to fix them for good and gain the skills to improve and continuously evolve as a poker player. You'll study more effectively, overcome leaks and tendencies that felt impossible to break, and rebuild trust and confidence in your game, finally seeing your hard work pay off as you move up the stakes. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start improving with clarity, break through the patterns that have been holding you back, and take your game to the next level, join the Mechanics Leak Buster program using the link down below. And for the first month of enrollment only, you will get access to weekly group coaching calls with me and get a chance to win a one-on-one coaching session in which I personally review your game. So don't miss out on this limited opportunity. Join the Mechanics League Buster program using the link down below, and looking forward to seeing you guys in there. So we're in the big blind. The low jack opens for min-ish. We defend 8-7 offsuit. Seems fine. Gotta be defending very wide. No rake, right? And basically a min raise. Check. Villain bets 1/3. Just call. Like in general, if I want to check raise at 8-7, I prefer to like the sort of randomize I use that I at least want to have a suit on the board, and I have the 7 of clubs, so that by definition already I'm like, okay, well, this one I will always play passively.
Yeah.
Turn is a 7.
Oh, I can see it coming.
You were the fortune teller.
So yeah, so he bets $32 and you check raise to 135.
Okay, I like. Would you like that?
Again, it's player dependent, but yeah, I think I like it.
Okay, I went for the. I started with a turn donk. I figured that, you know, I think this turn improves us a lot. We can have 9-7 offsuit, we can have 6-8 offsuit, we can have jack-8 offsuit. Like, it just improves a lot, and his like ace queen, ace king type of region really doesn't. I think it's also a turn that he's probably gonna pot control quite a lot on. So I think a lot of hands just makes sense to want to at least put some money in. And I think this hand is fine. Kind of it benefits from like set some protections, some thin value.
Perfect. Looks good.
He raises. Now you wanted to check raise, so I went for the funky check raise, basically.
Yeah.
You think this is different than a check raise, or because it's basically, I usually see it as sort of the same thing.
It's an interesting spot because if you did this against me, I'm just talking gut feeling, I would tell myself a different story than had you check raised. Like, to me, the chance that this is a bluff is somehow higher to me.
Because you
I
feel like
don't know if that's
more intuitive
actually
to lead
true.
out something like 9-8 or jack-9 than it is to lead out the nuts?
Yeah, I have a feeling people with the nuts don't want to bet quarter pot and have ace king fold.
I think ace king is not
or have ace 4 fold. Yeah. I mean, they're not interested in the quarter pot. That's more if you kind of think what benefits from a quarter pot lead. There's a bunch of hands in there. The nuts is not really one of them. And so I feel like my intuition would say, had you check raised, I'd have no clue, and I'd give you a lot of credit. When you lead out and then 3-bet, I'd probably put you as a bit more bluff heavy.
It's very interesting.
I don't know
like
if that's
from
correct for you or not.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's very. I mean, all that matters is the interpretation from the other guy's perspective, right? So basically, I should do this more value. Like, I would personally just lead out this card a lot, but like I said earlier, I'm just very, very much. I think my donk bet frequencies in this challenge were kind of through the roof. I think probably that I even outdone Stefan. I think in most situations on all streets. So if you do that, then you're definitely in the donkey camp. So I would personally just lead this card a lot, like also with the jack-8s, with the 6-8s. I just think it's just a card that's good to invest a little bit of money, and I feel like it's the same as checking, but since it's a good card for me, it's sort of checking with extra equity. And like I get a little bit more denial, I get value from the hands that would otherwise check back. So that's kind of how I would see this spot. But obviously, then if we decide to want to 3-bet more bluff heavy or value heavy, that is way more dependent on. So the turn lead, I can just play quote GTO. And then if I want to come over the top, that's more based on perception.
Yeah, so your hand, like when you check raise your hand, a lot of guys don't even have the theoretical knowledge to find the check raise bluffs on this board. And so I think you get given, especially people don't know this is you might get a bit of extra credit because to find enough check raise bluffs on the turn, you need to have some 7-8, jack-9, 9-8, 7-6, like you need to go with a pair and a lot of guys would default to calling that. So if you check raised on the turn, yeah, but this is just my mind. I don't think you need to pretend to play against me. I think your play so far, I'm with you. I like the play. And this puts pressure, yeah, just for the viewers. The idea is he has hands like aces, kings, queens, jacks, jack 10, ace 10, all of those hands that he wants to reopen them, but they're seriously behind our top range. And so there's this push-pull battle, right, with how many of those he gets to raise versus your donk. And you punish that by 3-bet bluffing and 3-betting value.
Yeah, and even like let's say you have kings in the spot, yeah, it's pretty gross. Because like even my bluffs, they will probably carry a lot of equity. Like I'm picking now 7-8. 7-8 is quite a lot of equity. And then your debts against against the big, the actual value part, right? The 6-8s and the jack-8s, which I like because, like I said, with the min-raise pre, no rake, gonna be very wide in the big blind. He calls. Still a chance that he could actually have maybe king jack or ace-8 suited or flush draw. So sometimes maybe even had. Just saying.
Yeah.
River queen.
Okay. So like you said, sometimes you're ahead. Queen, of course, you're ahead a lot less. You still, like, I could pick a few combos you beat, right? There's ace-8 of hearts, ace-4 of hearts, ace-jack of hearts, ace-king of hearts, or combos you could have that you beat, but it starts getting pretty thin to find those. And I would assume that your hand wants to do a decent bit of shoving on the river once your value gets counterfeited. I'd say theory it's probably mixed checking and shoving, but definitely fine to shove. And again, he's gonna get here with a bunch of hands that, right, that the issue he runs into here is he's gonna have to bluff catch, and he might not want to do that, right? He's gonna sometimes have to flick in a call with his queen jack, his pocket kings, his pocket jacks, whatever. Like pocket jacks, I'd imagine, has to maybe almost always call. Just an uncomfortable spot to be in. And I think a lot of guys in the mid-stakes challenge are not recognizing what they're supposed to do here, which is why I like your play. You're putting him in a spot where if he hasn't studied, he's just gonna look at jacks and be like, "Oh, fucking fold."
Yeah, pretty dangerous board. There's a lot out there.
Yeah. I'd give you a 10 out of 10 for this one.
10 out of 10. You don't even care what he calls with, or if he calls, if he folds, you could just give it a 10 out of 10. I like it. Well, maybe I get points deducted after we see the showdown. Because I think he was in the Uri camp. He was like, yeah, I'm not buying it. The board is quite dangerous, but I'm not buying it. He called me with ace and hearts. Pretty optimistic in my opinion on the queen. Like if he did it on something else. But the queen, like let's say I had king jack or queen jack, and now improved. Like he really has to put me on this, like jack 9. I personally wouldn't do it with jack 9, but yeah, like a 9-8 or 7-8. Those would probably be my favorite combos to do this line with.
Yeah, agreed. He has to put you on those. But I mean, I guess he did. So
he did, and he was right.
Yeah, that's So let me ask you. Once he makes this call, what note are you taking? Whether you write it down or mentally, like what do you think about this guy going forward?
Wrong customer. But no, so on the serious note, like definitely, actually I think he was also up quite a lot. And Owen told me you should bluff people in the middle of the pack, not or doing well or doing very bad. So maybe I should have known that before. But in general, like a guy that perceives, like I remember I noted his hand, like he just has a very specific perception, or he kind of notes you. I think he's a guy who can make very good hero folds and then very good hero calls, based on kind of what I'm seeing here. Based on how value heavy he thinks I'm repping, right? So I think there could be lines where he gives a lot of credit. He's like, oh, people always play value this way, so he can fold this range. Or there's a line where he's like, okay, people are just fucking around this line, never have value, so I always call. He's
But
definitely
this
not in
feels
the
like
camp
one where you
that's
should
gonna
fold.
call correctly. I think in terms
Yeah.
of like, oh, I have to call X percentage of the time. No, he's like, you're full of it. I call everything, or okay, you probably have it. I fold everything.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot to call down in. I'm definitely surprised. But yeah, you still get the 10 out of 10 from me.
Nice. We open under the gun. Button 3 bets. Aggressive guy. This is like your classic kind of cash game world championship profile. We call pocket sevens. Think it's fine so far. Check. Finnan bets 40%.
I think just call.
Okay, just call. Think it's fine. If I had sixes with a heart, I would consider maybe like throwing in some check raises. But like being able to turn some gutters. But I think sevens, yeah, just calling is fine. Check. Bet.
I guess I would fold. Are you supposed to call your hand sometimes?
When you say supposed to call, do you mean like, do I think it's a call in equilibrium, or do I think I just have a profitable call, right? There's two ways you can look at poker. You can think, okay, do I have to defend this hand from like a theory perspective, or can I call this hand because I think it's plus EV?
You know what? As you say that, I'm kind of zoning in on the sizes. And tell me if this is what happens for you. So there's what would be geometric sizing here. And he's actually betting bigger than that, right? Like he's betting over 2/3. And on the river, there's going to be less than 2/3. Is that correct? Or am I off?
Yeah, I think he's like 3/4-ish. He bets 40%, now goes, yeah, but I agree. It's not completely.
It's a bit too big. It's a bit too big, right?
It's a bit bigger than if you press the 2E button.
Yeah. So, and does Coin Poker have a 2E button?
No, but the Jurogin has, right? And all these mid-stakes grinders, they probably
Yeah.
makes life very comfortable. I can tell you that. Saves you a lot of brain power to calculate stuff.
So I guess when I see a size that's inappropriate, I always try to put in a few things together. And one of the things I can see is the board texture looks very, very dry. So I imagine if he has aces, kings, queens, this is not some double flush draw connected board where you size up. A lot of your equity is very static. And so the main hands that would have motivation to size up would be bluffs. So is that where you were here with sevens?
No.
I'm trying to deconstruct it. No.
Yeah. No. So actually, usually I agree with you, especially you said something very important, right? When I see someone use the sizing, that's quote, not a thing. I'm trying to ask myself, okay, what would have incentivized you to do that? Here, I didn't read too much into it. Sure, it's not exactly 2E, but I just thought, okay, yeah, he's like, okay, barrel's like a quote, normal sizing. I think if we fold all our pairs here, like the problem is in this kind of spots, right? The pocket pairs are a very big proportion of your range. And therefore, people actually make a lot of mistakes with them. Usually in this type of spots, people overcall flop, overfold turn. That's kind of the main mistake that I usually see people make in this formation. But then I was thinking, if you think about, so I thought, okay, I cannot just fold all my pairs. That would probably, and I'm just left with what? Suited jack X to defend. I'm massively overfolding. So then I thought, okay, well, sixes. If you look at all my pairs, sixes, sevens, eights, nines obviously set, and tens. I was like, if I can pick a pair to defend, it's definitely better than eights.
Sevens,
because eights, against queen 10, that would not be great. I block some of the bluffs, like 10-8 suited maybe, stuff like that. Same with sixes. I think sixes, just as that's equity. He could maybe barrel like 6-5 suited sometime. If I have tens, that's where I was kind of torn. Like, okay, tens does have a bit more equity, right? But it reduces a significant amount of his bluffs. Also, if you look at the texture, all the bluffs are out there. Ace 4, 6, 7, 7, 8, queen 10, queen. I think it's just very easy for him to overdo it. And I think from all the pairs that I have, I kind of have like the cleanest pair to defend. In terms of if I improve and unblocking all the bluffs. So I figured sevens probably still good to call. And it's just so easy. Like if you just only pick the natural bluffs, which are, let's say, a gutter. Well, there's a lot of gutters on deuce 5, jack 9, right? So I usually like to look at spots where you defend. Is it easy for a villain to overshoot or undershoot? And for me, this is a spot where like probably easy for him to overshoot. Even like, let's say he has ace king, ace queen, just no equity, and he has a heart with it or something. Very viable for him to draw the barrel. I put a lot of pressure on this pocket pairs, and I think it's a good play from him. I think, you know, pocket pairs is just a very big proportion of the range, especially here in no rake. Then I think in the vacuum this is going to be very profitable barrel. So yeah, that's basically why I decided to call, for like easy for him to overshoot, and from the pairs that I can choose from, this is probably the best.
And then you're gonna, any rivers you're planning to call or fold?
Yes, let's reevaluate. I'm an optimistic poker player. I also think sometimes I hit a 7 and I win a stack, right? We should not think about that. But river is very kind of dependent on, like, yeah, you know, timing, which river, kind of, it's got to be a bit more. Obviously, there are some and I'm not saying I'm very happy in this spot, right? Because obviously there's some dicey rivers. Think of a 10, think of a queen, think of a king. We get an ace, kind of a little bit of deja vu. Check, thin and jams.
So now you have to combo count a bit, right? It's not that clear cut. You have king, queen, king 10, queen 10, 10, 8. And we don't know if he has those suited or offsuit, right?
Probably a mix. Like I would imagine he sometimes has them. Like usually when I don't know exactly someone's range, I just give it, yeah, okay, king, queen can sometimes flat, can sometimes 3-bet. Same with queen 10 suited. So yeah, probably have to give him some, but not all. But I usually actually like to, in these type of spots or in general river bluff catching situations, I usually like to start with the value. Because I feel like if you start counting value, it's a bit similar to the king jack, right? If you start counting value and you stop at 12 or something, or 16, then it's like, oh, probably quite easy to overshoot. So yeah, let's start with the value. What do you think he's jamming for value? What would be his like bottom value jam?
So ace 3, ace 4, I feel like would be the widest you could go. And then we'd have ace 3 suited, ace 4 suited, ace king with a heart, ace queen with a heart, pocket jacks, pocket 9s, pocket aces, something around that.
Pocket jacks, I think probably checks turn, but yeah, for most part, you don't expect queens or kings.
Oh, with like kings or queens? No, I don't think so, no.
Do you think on the ace, he's going to give up bluffs? Another important consideration, right? We can find bluffs, but then we have to always look at kind of, okay, likelihood of follow through.
I would guess probably no give ups on the ace. So, does it feel clear to you catching with 7s here? After we kind of walk through these.
I was pretty happy actually with this river. Like I usually like these rivers where people are gonna polarize and they're always gonna bluff their bluffs. And given how the turn texture was very draw heavy and all these draws miss, so kind of the hands that he always has. And then on the river, he's probably not going too thin, right? Because I can still have, for example, a bunch of ace x of hearts. I can have ace 8 of hearts, ace 10 of hearts. So I don't think you can just jam queens. I can still have jacks myself. I can have 9s. So I don't, yeah, obviously, unless you think I always call 7s. But that's obviously out there. But again, like from, yeah, I think 7 is just a very clean unblocking type of hand here. Like, let's say, for example, you have jack queen or jack 10. And then you block all of these king queens, again, queen 10s. Sure, you block some value, but I think I prefer 7s.
Ah, interesting. I'll have to note this one and check it myself. I think the issue for me is, well, this is a question you should ask yourself, because he's actually supposed to barrel a6, a7, ace8 a decent bit himself on the turn, and I guess most mid-stakes players are not doing that.
But I think also if you look at the turn, in spots usually where you have a lot of draws to pick from, and you don't carry enough value, you cannot bet them all. And I think this is a spot where, yeah, you're not gonna bet queen 10. You're not gonna bet king queen just for the sake of remaining balance. You're like, oh, he has a lot of underpairs. I have 2 overs. you're just gonna barrel. And then when you arrive
Mhm.
on the ace, it's like, oh, I didn't come here to now give up on an ace. That's how I see the situation.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. I'm being very honest. I can't argue with you, but my gut feeling about this one isn't as good as the previous ones. We're gonna grade the hand. Let's
Yes.
say I'll give you an 8 out of 10 if you lose, and a 10 out of 10 if you win, to not be too results oriented.
Kind of also depends kind of the combo that he shows up with. If he shows queens, I should get a 4 probably. He does not show queens. He
Yeah.
shows ace queen. Interesting actually. I looked at this hand after the championship, and I looked at it again more recently. I remember when I was looking at it in the championship, this hand should actually check back, because you have the ace of hearts, so you kind of block some of the call. So if you have the ace of hearts, you don't want to go as thin, quote quote.
Yeah.
In terms of sevens, I think in the solver it was sprinkling in that on the turn. It was indeed the highest EV one of all the pairs. I think very tight with tens. It was pretty similar. Eights was the worst. Sixes was worse. So that makes sense. And actually, it was sprinkling in some calls on both turn and river. But on the river, it was sometimes checking back this exact combo. So yeah, dicey.
Yeah. I think I have a feeling maybe part of what leads you to do this is that you have in your head the structure of people are overfolding, like calling too many pocket pairs, folding too much on a turn. Right? And so that makes you play a bit reverse. And would you agree with that?
No, I think like I said, the main driver, or the first thing I always take in consideration when facing aggression is this a spot where it's likely that he overdoes it? I think that's always the most important thing. Like, if we look at like best case, worst case scenario, like sometimes you really have to dig, and it's way more likely that he's undershooting than overshooting. Usually not a lot of good things will happen then, right? Whereas in this type of situation, it's like, okay, we got an aggressive guy, we got like a lot of natural bluffs, very like connected board, but no completes. Very easy to overshoot. And then from there, I kind of look at my hand, like, okay, how much do I think is overshooting? And can I just call, for example, pocket eights here as well, or pocket sixes or pocket tens, whatever. So yeah, that would be my first. And like I said, yeah, just easy to barrel king queen. I think if he has king queen, he's always playing it this way. I think he has 10-8, he always playing this way. Queen 10 always, king 10 always. Yeah, 6-7.
Yeah.
Maybe. This kind of sucks on the turn. 7-8 has a double gutter.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's a nice hand. It's a bit fuzzy because we don't know what he flats, what he 3-bets, what he barrels, so it's tougher to get to very high accuracy.
True. Yeah, basically I just think if we don't know, for example, this hand could sometimes flat, could sometimes 3-bet. So same with king queen, same with king 10. So I just give him kind of half, like, if he sometimes flats king 10, he can also sometimes flat this one, right? So it's sort of, I think it stays sort of the same. But okay, I'll take him, man. 8 out of 10. Let's go.
But my turn read, he was bluffing, was correct for what it's worth. Like the
strong
turn.
read.
But,
I didn't read into it that way. Like I like to definitely read into sizings here. I did not, or at least I didn't think it was as obvious that something could be going on here. Right.
Are we gonna get the fold?
Adds points.
I have to upgrade your score. I think this gets 11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. Nice.